The film begins in 15th century England, a land torn apart by civil war. The kingdom, still weary from defeating the Scottish army, now finds itself locked in a brutal fight against rebel forces. Amid the chaos stands young Henry Percy of the notorious Hotspur family. On the battlefield, he notices a gravely wounded enemy soldier crawling helplessly across the dirt. With chilling calm, Percy tells him he's going in the wrong direction, before ending the man's agony with one merciless thrust of his sword. Soon after, the Hotspur family shares a table with King Henry IV, himself a frail, sickly ruler who spends more time drinking than governing. The king bluntly demands to know whether they have brought him any prisoners. Percy replies, "No," and openly accuses the king of refusing to pay the ransom for one of his own cousins, still rotting in Welsh captivity. When the king coldly dismisses the hostage as nothing more than a rebel and a traitor, Percy's fury explodes. He insults the monarch to his face until Henry IV, humiliated, threatens to cut off his head. Percy storms out mid-meal, leaving the court in shock. Watching him leave, the king mutters that Percy will soon betray him. Yet in the same breath he admits he wishes his own son had such burning spirit. Meanwhile, we are introduced to the king's eldest son, Henry V, disgusted by corruption and endless bloodshed. Rather than honor his duties, the young prince drowns himself in drink, tavern fights, and mischief with his companion, Sir John Falstaff. One evening, a royal messenger begs him to visit his dying father. But Henry scoffs at the plea and keeps drinking. By morning, he is discovered lying beside a prostitute until Falstaff storms in, dismisses the woman, and delivers a grave warning. If Henry ignores his father now, he will regret it for the rest of his life. Reluctantly, Henry agrees to go, and when he finally enters the court, the lords rise to greet him with thunderous applause. At court, King Henry IV declares that his days are numbered and an heir must be chosen. Yet, despite Henry being the eldest, the crown is promised to his younger brother Thomas. Henry, showing no shock, accepts the slight he never wanted the throne anyway. But soon he hears the news. Percy of Hotspur has indeed turned traitor, and Thomas will lead the army against him the very next day. The battlefield preparations begin when suddenly Henry himself appears. He shocks the soldiers by insisting the bloodshed must end. He will settle the matter with single combat against Percy, sparing countless lives, including his brothers. His emissary delivers the challenge, and Percy, burning with pride, accepts instantly. Despite his father's desperate pleas not to, the day of reckoning arrives. Percy and Henry face each other before their armies, swords flashing in the cold light. Their duel grows savage, blades knocked away until they are locked in vicious hand-to-hand combat. The clash is brutal, raw, and unrelenting. At last, Henry pulls a hidden dagger and drives it deep into Percy's throat. Gasps echo across the battlefield as Hotspur falls lifeless, his father's cries drowned in silence. Thomas, far from grateful, accuses Henry of stealing his moment of glory. But Henry answers calmly he never sought fame, only to save his brother's life. He then retreats back into obscurity, once more drowning himself in drink with Falstaff. But peace is fleeting. William, Chief Justice and the king's trusted advisor, approaches Henry with urgent news. The king is dying, and England teeters on the edge of chaos. Yet Henry hesitates, saying Thomas should rule. William drops the shocking truth: Thomas is dead, slain while fighting a Welsh rebellion. Rage overtakes Henry, and he storms into his father's chamber. On the deathbed, he rips away the blankets and recoils at the sight of the king's body, ravaged with sores. In fury, he calls his father a monster, but the old king pleads with his son to take the throne, begging him to carry the burden of England's crown. As he exhales his final breath, the entire court kneels before Henry, forcing him to accept the weight of destiny. The old king is gone. Long live the new king! Servants move quickly to gather Henry's belongings, driving Falstaff out of the quarters. The loyal friend, stunned and hurt, learns from a servant knock from Henry himself that his companion is now ruler of England. That night, the coronation feast begins. Nobles from across Europe shower the new king with dazzling gifts. From the King of Bohemia comes a golden cup, which Henry passes to his sister, the Queen of Denmark. From the Venetian ruler comes a mechanical bird, gifted by Henry to his cousin Cambridge. Then, at last, the French prince sends a strange gift, a toy ball. The crowd gasps in silence at the insult, but Henry brushes it aside, smiling coolly as he declares he will keep this toy for himself. William wastes no time warning Henry that the ball from France is not a gift, it is a direct insult to the crown of England. He urges the young king to respond with fury, but Henry refuses. Instead, he shocks the lords by calling for peace and reconciliation. He vows to rule differently from his father. He will end the cycle of endless bloodshed, even suggesting that England pay the ransom for Percy's cousin, something the old king had refused to do. The next morning, the archbishop arrives with dangerous counsel. He claims that Charles VI of France has no rightful claim to his throne and insists Henry could seize it himself. France, the archbishop argues, was always King Henry IV's ambition, and conquering it would pave the way to Jerusalem. But Henry cuts him off with a firm answer. He will not destroy the countries just to chase hollow ambitions. William praises his restraint, yet reminds him darkly that France is mocking England and the people grow restless. In the shadows of a tavern, John drinks heavily, his purse nearly empty. The innkeeper taunts him cruelly, jeering that his privileges are gone now that his companion sits on the throne. Meanwhile, in England, a shocking discovery is made. A captured French emissary confesses he was sent to assassinate King Henry. In return for his honesty, he begs for asylum, and Henry, acting on his own decree, grants it. The royal lords erupt in outrage, demanding war. Still, Henry resists, choosing instead to send a scathing letter to the French king. He sneers that if France wants war, it must send soldiers, not cowardly assassins. To drive the insult home, he fills the very box that carried the toy ball with heavy cannonballs and sends it back. France replies, denying involvement in the assassination attempt. But the lords refuse to believe the denial and press harder for blood. Soon, a French envoy secretly approaches Lord Cambridge and Lord Grey, whispering offers to betray Henry. Cambridge and Grey, rattled, report the meeting to William. Yet, in hushed tones, they too cast doubts on the King. Grey snarls that Henry is a drunkard and coward, while Cambridge questions his mental acuity. William, alarmed, hurries to warn the king that leadership sometimes demands ruthless choices. Henry listens quietly, then returns to court with shocking news. England is now at war with France. He assigns Cambridge and Grey to deliver the declaration, only to order their executions for treason the very next day. The following morning, Henry watches grimly as both men are beheaded, his heart heavy with sorrow. Cambridge, after all, was not only a noble but his own cousin and once a dear friend. After the grim business of betrayal and execution, Henry slips away to the tavern where John still drinks. There, he admits his guilt, apologizing for abandoning him over the past few weeks. He begs John to join him as an advisor, confessing that he trusts no one else in the court. John agrees, but only if the king settles his towering debts with the taverns. Henry laughs and accepts instantly. Soon after, he parades John into the royal court, introducing him to the lords as his campaign chief, praising his experience in combat. The nobles are stunned, disgusted that the king has chosen a drunkard to lead such a crucial mission, but powerless, they bow to his will. With preparations complete, Henry launches his army across the sea. The English fleet strikes the coast of France, landing at Harfleur. To their surprise, the village is deserted, its people and soldiers hidden away in a fortified stronghold. Henry orders a siege. Massive counterweight trebuchets rise, hurling boulders at the walls day after day. The air fills with fire, smoke, and splintered stone, but still the fortress holds. The soldiers grow restless, demanding an assault, while disease and hunger creep into the camp. Henry hesitates, unwilling to waste lives in reckless bloodshed. He turns to John, who calmly advises patience, saying they should wait for surrender. The other soldiers groan in frustration, but Henry stands firm. At last the French yield. Women and children are spared, the men taken prisoner, and a proud English garrison claims the castle. News soon reaches Henry that the French Prince Louis has arrived and requested a midnight meeting. Henry enters the French camp under the cloak of darkness and quickly realizes Louis has no thought of surrender. Instead, the arrogant prince mocks him cruelly, sneering at Henry's former life as a drunkard, hurling insults like daggers. With a wicked grin, Louis even threatens to kill him and bury him under a little French tree. Henry, unshaken, refuses to react. He offers no reply, no anger, just a silent exit back into the night, leaving Louis to his arrogance. The very next day, the English army pushes deeper into French soil. At camp, 3 young English boys wander off into the woods. Their innocence turns into horror when one is suddenly stabbed in the back while fetching water from a stream. The second child runs in terror but is struck down by a crossbow bolt. The third boy freezes, trembling until Prince Louis himself steps from the shadows. Pretending kindness, he assures the boy he means no harm, only to hand him a ghastly gift for his king. Moments later, the child staggers back into camp, carrying his friend's severed head. The English soldiers recoil in horror and fury. Henry's rage ignites. He storms to John and demands the night guards be doubled and all French prisoners executed, their bodies impaled on stakes by the river as vengeance. But John refuses, his voice firm. He tells Henry he is not the kind of man capable of such atrocities. The army continues forward until they reach the slopes of Agincourt. Henry sends a scout to peer over the hill. The rider returns pale-faced, reporting that French troops are much larger and occupy a better position. The English soldiers are weak, sick, starved, exhausted. Many lords beg for retreat. But John interrupts with a bold strategy. The rain will come, the fields will drown in mud, and the French armor will trap them in their own weight. He advises sending a heavy front line to lure them in, then unleashing faster soldiers with archers striking from the flanks. It's dangerous, but Henry agrees. If it rains, they will fight. If not, we return to England, he declares. That night, the skies open with torrential rain just as John predicted. By morning, the fields are thick with sludge. John, armored heavily, leads the first charge. He warns Henry not to enter the fight too soon. But Henry, determined to save thousands of men in battle, marches boldly to the French camp, offering a duel with Louis to settle the war. The prince laughs cruelly, scoffing if Henry is afraid to face his army. Henry is forced to retreat and return to his men. Before battle, he delivers a fiery speech, rallying his weary soldiers with cries of courage and survival. The clash begins. John's line crashes into the French knights, bogging them in the mud. Henry signals the archers' arrows rain down like death itself. A brutal slaughter explodes, men suffocate in the muck, faces crushed under iron, screams drowned in the storm. John fights bravely but is knocked to the ground, his helmet ripped away as the melee suffocates him. Henry orders another wave of arrows before charging forward with sword in hand. The strategy works, the French crumble. At last, Louis staggers onto the field, demanding a duel. But fate mocks him. He slips in the mud, sprawling helplessly before the English. Soldiers stab him over and over in a frenzy, killing him in shame rather than glory. The battle is won. But victory tastes like ash. Henry finds John among the dead, suffocated in the mud. His grief erupts into cold fury. Without hesitation, he orders every French prisoner executed, this time with no mercy. The young king marches to the castle of Charles VI. The old king, weary and broken, surrenders his crown and kingdom. He laments the bitter bond with his dead son and offers Henry his daughter, Princess Catherine, in marriage uniting France and England under one crown. Henry accepts, but his joy is stained with mourning for John. William, ever loyal at his side, whispers condolences and comforts his sorrow. Days later, England celebrates Henry's wedding. Crowds roar outside the palace. In private, Catherine meets him with steel in her eyes. She warns she will not submit. He must earn her respect. She asks why he brought war upon her land. Henry answers, her father sent an assassin. But Catherine denies it fiercely. Her father never sent an assassin and longed only for peace. Henry mentions the toy ball her brother mocked him with, but she dismisses it. Louis was too stupid to do something like that. Henry calls her father's rule illegitimate. She spits back that Henry himself is the son of a usurper. Her voice cuts sharper, calling him a foolish young man and easy to deceive. Henry, shaken, seeks William. Preparing for celebration, the old advisor faces his questions. How much land will he gain now? Yet to be determined, William replies vaguely. Henry presses, how did the assassin even find him? William falters, inventing stories that collapse in contradiction. Slowly, Henry sees the truth. William orchestrated it all, the assassination plot, the manipulations, the path to war for his own ambition. Confronted, William admits it. He says he gave Henry what he always wanted: power, respect, peace forged through fear. He grovels at Henry's feet, begging forgiveness, but Henry will not forgive. With one savage strike, he stabs William through the neck, killing the man who betrayed him most. In the final scene, Henry goes to Catherine. His voice is quiet, heavy. He asks nothing of her except that she speak honestly and clearly to him, always. Catherine agrees. Their hands entwine as the crowd outside chants his name. King Henry! King Henry! The cries of a nation hailing both his triumph and his tragedy.